All right, guys, it's Kenzo. We're back with another episode of the O Word podcast. Today I have Miss Tiana with me.
Hey.
Miss Lyric with me.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about Black mental health and the effects from being in the pandemic, the panoramic, the panty, and kind of give some tips and tricks for kind of helping cope with depression, things that you can do to uplift your mood. So, first we have Leah, right? That's how you pronounce her name. So Leah wrote in and asked us some questions. She was saying, how has the pandemic affected your mental health? So we'll start with Lyric and we'll just go down and talk about it.
I feel like it obviously was hard, but I don't think it really worsened it. I feel like I just realized that I had like more problems and I had more time to be by myself, to figure it out. So it was easier to do it that way than just to let it go by and not think about it while I'm working. So I think it kind of helped me, but it also was kind of hard.
Okay. And how about you, Tiana?
I think that like she said, like the pandemic kind of makes you face what you have been like distracting yourself from, because there's not a lot of places to go, there's not a lot of things to do, there's not a lot of people willing to like come around you, so you kind of have to deal with your own like humanity and reality and just kind of like, okay, something is wrong with me,
right,
and it's time to address it.
You know? I agree. I kind of plummeted during the pandemic. I was like, oh my God, wow, bitch, you have a problem. Like, what the fuck? It's the listen, I'm ready for this shit to be over, number one. But number two, it definitely made me realize, like, you kind of have a lot going on. You kind of have a lot. And I was, like, not going through a breakup, but, like, still dealing with the effects of a breakup on top of that. And I'm just like, this is too much. This is absolutely too much. So, yeah. And then her next question was, when was the first time you realized you had mental health issues?
I don't know. Honestly, I think I always had these problems. I just was busy most of my life. So when I was in school doing activities, I didn't really think about stuff like that. So I think, honestly, when I actually got out of school and was working, I realized that I had something wrong. Honestly, I thought it was PMS.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I honestly thought, because it was, like, lining up with, and I'm like, maybe I have something going on, and then I was like, oh, wait, this is every day.
Right.
So I was like, it can't be that. So I was actually, like, around, like, maybe, like, 18, 19.
Okay.
That I found out.
And that's a lot. Like, that age, I feel like you just kind of thrown into adulthood, and it's just like, now you have to deal with all this stuff, so that makes it even harder. Like, that's a rough age to be, like, realizing you have that going on and, like, dealing with that.
I think that's the age where, like, you realize most of your shit.
Yeah.
Because for a while,
it, like,
it's just, like, ignored.
Right.
Or whatever,
Yeah.
Crazy.
But how about for you?
Oh, I was very young.
Yeah,
I knew from a young age. My family, like, deals with a lot of mental health issues, and I see it in my mom and my dad. They don't address it. You know, being in, like, my dad is more of a, like, toxic masculinity thing, and then my mom grew up in the Black community where you don't address shit like that.
Sweep under the rug.
Yeah, so it was never addressed fully. There was times where, like, I have a diagnosis or whatever, but it was swept under the rug for the most part. Yeah, but I've known since I was young. I knew something was fucking wrong with me.
So something right.
Right.
I was really young too. I didn't know what it was though. I was just like, why the fuck am I so crazy? But like, I was like, oh, yeah, this is my life. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I was pretty young. All right, what did she say? She said, when did you learn that mental health issues was an actual thing, and when did you learn how important mental health is? That is a big one.
I always knew it was a thing. It was sad that I kind of knew it in a bad way because like when you're younger, kids are obviously I'm bipolar, you know, like
right,
that.
Yeah.
Oh, like I have ADHD. Look at me, like you know, right. Like I hated this. So I was like, okay, I know what they are, but I thought that they were just like fake because like, people made it up. So I was like, you don't have that. Like what are you talking about? It's not real. So I honestly thought that it was just something that people said.
Right.
So when I actually found out and I did my research about certain things, I was like, oh, this is a real thing.
Right.
People actually struggle with this every day. So I'm like, it was kind of weird to find out like exactly what it was. And what was the second question?
The other one was, when did you learn how important mental health is?
I honestly think I learned how important it was when it happened to me because I didn't think that it was that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. Like I honestly thought that, listen, if this happens, then you're fine, just move on.
Right.
You don't have to think about it anymore. But talking about it to a therapist actually sucks. Like, and I'm sitting there talking and like I remember her face vividly. Like, oh my wow, I'm fucked up. Right. I was like, okay, well, I thought this was normal, and she was like, no, this is not normal. So I think that it was weird, but like it had to happen, and that's how I know how important it is. And now I'm like telling people, like, listen, if you're not feeling good, what's wrong? Tell me, like, what is happening? So now, because I do it to myself. So I think,
it's definitely like important, obviously, but like I've always done like self-care days, and I always knew that like had like an effect on how I would feel. But just like when you're going and you have those mental health issues in the background, they become the front of everything. And then it was when I started living with her actually that I was just like kind of avoiding the fact that it was happening to me, and then I would be like super nasty to her family. And it's like, I'm not this person. And then it like started this like back and forth resentment almost between us, and it was like I had to take a step back and like, I'm not this person. Why am I acting like this towards them? Like they have done nothing wrong to me. And it's that you know, that's when I realized like, okay, you need to get some type of help or figure shit out for yourself. I opted for the DIY route.
Because she's a Virgo.
I am a Virgo. I'm like, I know how to solve all of my problems. And I don't. I'm fucked up. But, yeah, like, I opted for the DIY route because, you know, I thought I could handle it. I'm realizing as an adult that I can't. Not by myself.
A little help.
Like I can point out the issues, but it's hard to fix them. So that's what's important, is like making sure that what you have isn't who you are.
Right. That's very important. Super, super important. But yeah, I learned what mental health was when I was older. Like, when I was younger, I'm like, okay, some shit is off. And, like, even, like, with growing up with my mom, she has a lot of different, like, mental health issues. And I watched her struggle with that. Right. And I'm like, she's just really mean and really nasty. Like, that's what I thought it was. And then when I was older, I was, like, probably, like, early 20s, I would say. I was like, oh shit, like it all started like making sense. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I started researching into more into things. I started going to therapy. Like I started realizing like, oh, this is a real condition. These are real issues, and you can't just like pretend this shit isn't happening. Or, you know, I feel like my mom kind of tried to handle everything herself, and I'm like, you can't, because look at what the fuck you're doing. So yeah, like you said, like sometimes you just need help. And I think sometimes there's shame behind getting help. Yes. But you shouldn't be ashamed. Like, you wouldn't try to change a fucking radiator or something on your car if you don't know what you're doing. You need to go to a professional. Like, there's no shame in that. So why is there shame? You know what I'm saying? Like, you would not perform an open heart surgery on yourself. Like, you can't do that. Like,
or I would hope
you need to go to right. Please don't attempt that. Right. But you would go to a professional, because that's, you know, that's what they do. So, absolutely. And there would be no shame in that if you needed help in that way. So, I don't know why there's such a stigma like around getting help in regards to your mental health, but
it's so taboo.
It is, especially in the Black community. I feel like people just are quick to like, girl, ain't nothing wrong with you, or you got bad nerves, or you just having a, you know, bad day or whatever.
But then I think, listen, I'm about to get all up in conspiracies and shit, but I think it really circles back to like not being able to trust doctors.
Oh, 100%.
And then if you don't have somebody who looks like you,
right, you can be less likely to seek
any type of help, you know, professional or otherwise.
I agree. And we're going to tap into that. We're going to tap into that. So another question Leah had, she said, how do you feel about mental illnesses being seen as a trend, like Lyric was saying earlier?
He's trying to deal the door down. Go ahead.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Because now it sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, what? I never understood what they were talking about. So it was like, okay, like, oh, you have ADHD, what's that mean? Right. And they would literally, like, it was so bad. They would literally just, like, act like they couldn't do anything. Like, oh my God, I can't. Like, I have to leave. So I'm like, okay, so is this what you're supposed to, this is how you're supposed to feel? Right. So I think that was my problem when I grew up. I was like, well, it's not, like, that intense. But I'm like, but I do have it. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I think it's messed up because even TVs and shows do that.
They do that, for almost like glamorizing kind of, and like making it seem. It almost feels like they're mocking it, like on TV, like they're trying to make a mockery of it,
or they always just portray one way, of what it is. Like it's like it's not one side, you know what I mean? Like, it's not always going to be a very wealthy person having, you know, mental health issues and them having the resources to do that. That's not what's happening, you know? Like, there's people who don't have that. So I haven't seen a show like that, or a movie. Right. So I just think that they just portray, a lot of times, bipolar disorder, personality disorder. Yeah. Like, crazy people.
Personality disorder.
Yeah. Like, there's so many movies about it. Like, and I'm just like, these people actually have to deal with this every single day. Yeah. And you're making them seem that they're evil and villains and that they're harmful. Like, that's not what's happening.
That's not always the case. Did you guys ever watch Degrassi?
Yes.
You remember Craig?
Yes.
Yeah, they did my man's dirty. I love Craig, okay? And I remember watching that and I was like, oh my God. Like, it was just so... I don't even know how to describe it. It was just so harsh. And I'm like, Jesus, like, I don't know. But for a long time, I thought, you know, everyone with bipolar disorder, this is how they act. Right. Like, I didn't know any better. And then when I got older, I'm like, okay, that is not realistic, really.
Well, Degrassi as a whole is just insane.
It's like, fucking nuts.
The mental health in that show is, I feel like it's good and it's bad. Because it doesn't just show... oh, I'm struggling today. It shows that when I go to school and I put this on and I go home, I deal with this every day. Deal with it, And then they don't only stop there. Their families have problems. They show you what's going on in their house. Yeah. You know, like, and then it's like, it makes you think, like, okay, it's more to it than just this person is feeling a certain type of way. Right. It all stems from home. Yeah. So I think that was, like, a really big thing, and that's why I kind of like the show.
I loved Degrassi.
It was so many different... oh, my God. Like, different people. Yes. And some people didn't even ask or realize they had mental health, but they did, and you could see it, but they didn't. They just, nah, I'm good. Like, it was good and bad. Yeah.
That show was, whoo, and it was the older seasons, like from like season 1 to, I forget when it started getting like, basically when all the OGs left. That's when it started going downhill.
Yeah, I think it was like Next Generation. That's when they.
Yeah, don't watch that. Watch the old ones, but it's available on YouTube. I binge watch on there, so please go watch it. It's very.
It's on Roku TV, like on the Roku.
Oh,
thing.
I did not know that.
Yeah, if you have Roku and you go to like their channel section, like they're kind of like their cable section, they have Degrassi.
Oh, I did not know that.
The full seasons of all Degrassi. So
Throwback Thursday.
I'll be watching it sometimes. I'll be like, so good. This is crazy.
When I watch it again, I'm like, yo, Throwback Thursday, like major throwback. But yeah. So, do you want to add anything to that about like it being seen as like a trendy thing?
It's kind of hard because it's like everybody like deals with mental illness differently. It affects everybody differently, and then everyone's coping mechanisms are different. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to like just say that it's a trend. Mm-hmm. But it is definitely used as a trope in media to like,
for sure.
Oh, well, this is real because they're dealing with mental illness. And it's like the way I've seen bipolar disorder depicted versus how I deal with it is like so drastically different. Yeah. Like, not every manic episode is going to be jumping in front of a train because I don't feel like I can live in this body anymore. Like, no, sometimes it's maxing out my credit card.
Right.
That's all. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's definitely dramatized. But that's all.
Yeah. Okay, so